Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Today, a crash course in how to build a 28-0 lead, and then part 2 of the session, how to almost blow it.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and the Packers only count in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Hey, this is Arif Hassan from the Wide Left Substack. I am in Ireland, which is God's country. Which God? I won't say.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. KOC had nightmares last night, not from the second half collapse, but from almost decapitating Mark Wilf with a football.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Welcome in on a Monday, Minnesota Football Party, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. The Vikings are 4-0. This show is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first Monday listen or view. For your second one, check out Locked On Vikings with Luke Braun. Great daily Vikings content. That's where you find the audio of this show on the Locked On Vikings feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Vikings win the border battle. 28-0 lead, then a 29-3 run, and a 31-29 victory. When it was all said and done, Vikings squeak by with the help of a recovered onside kick. They get the job done. They're undefeated in this gauntlet of a schedule to begin the season. Pretty incredible stuff. Today's show, where we break down that game extensively, is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to split this into segments, gentlemen. So I want to start by focusing on the 28-0 lead in the first half, how it was built, what stood out, what plays stood out, primetime performers, who did well, and then we will focus on what happened in the near collapse, whether you're concerned, whether you have red flags, because I didn't have as many red flags yesterday as I actually do today after doing some number crunching, looking at just some wonky stats that stand out through the first 4 games that I'm going to tell you guys about and tell me whether I'm crazy or not. Of course, nerdy stats of the day are Monday feature.
Too many touchdowns, not sustainable. They're scoring too much.
Too many touchdowns.
Week 4 bets. More on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, I'm more okay with.
Okay.
But so we did the postcast yesterday, and thanks, by the way, again, just the outpouring of people watching these postcasts is awesome. It's so cool and so fun to see. The chats after the game are on fire, and people are going back and forth in the chat saying it feels like a loss. What a terrible win for the Vikings. Well, you know what?
People are at war right now.
Didn't Luke tweet out the Vikings are 3-1 in moral victories this year?
Yeah, they fell to a moral 3-1. They're gonna need that one when it comes to making the moral playoffs. The real playoffs, they're looking great, but the moral playoffs a little bit dicier.
The thing is, though, because this is their moral Super Bowl, they did actually win the Super Bowl already. So
true. Yeah, no, they won the Super Bowl as declared by Justice Mosqueda.
Yeah.
Peter Bukowski stoking the flame as well, but I think
whoa, the Pete Show. Chill. We got to give cheese to Wisconsinites.
No, but the thing is, cheese isn't unique to Wisconsin. I think the fact that they claim cheese is appropriation from the French and Vermont.
True, very true, but it doesn't suck, so we got to chill.
Cheese is good.
So my kids watch about a quarter and a half of the games with me this year. They're 3 and 4 years old, and my son was particularly confused by the cheese yesterday. Like, think of if you're 3.
That makes sense.
If you're 3 years old, you're trying to understand football, and there are people wearing cheese on their heads. So just think about that. Like being 3 and seeing that confusion, major confusion.
It's like the first thing that when you get into the NFL, when I was like first starting to date my wife, and I'm a football guy, and she's like, "Wait, cheese is a mascot? What?" Like everybody has to ask that question, whether it's at 3 years old or when you first get into it, like as an adult.
Yeah, and again, you're 3, and I'm trying to teach, like, all right, they have 3 tries to get to the yellow line, and they're like, well, there's the yellow line. I'm like, no, that's just the outline of the Packers logo, and then there's a flag on the field. Hey, that's yellow. No, not that yellow one. That's like when they break the rules. Oh, okay. Oh, there's yellow.
A lot of yellow. A lot of yellow.
It's an impossible spot, to be honest. This is
Lambeau.
This is terrible.
And the problem is now there's also more commonly a secret 4th try. The line is often red in that instance.
Right.
Sometimes it is red. All the 4th down attempts.
That's like AP football, okay? That's like way too advanced, man.
Yeah.
We got to dumb it down.
Years.
I would say so.
I sympathize with your child. That's tough.
He's learning though. Luke Inman was the professional host. I think Luke Inman kind of towed the line yesterday. Luke Braun was saying, don't worry about it. Winning percentage was always like 90% or above. I had a little more panic. I will admit, at 28-22. Now, Arif, we haven't talked to you yet about the game. What was your panic level late in this one? And then we're going to circle back to the 28-0 lead. But I just want to get your gauge on what your like level of consternation was.
I think having viewed a number of Vikings collapses over the course of my career as a Vikings reporter, this was definitely more of a I can't wait, this is very funny, than it was oh no. But I was pretty confident the Vikings were going to win. Like, it's difficult to kind of intuit the win probability graphs. Like, your brain doesn't work like a win probability graph, right? And so seeing that the Vikings have like a 95% chance of winning as they give up a touchdown certainly is like, you have to make all of those things kind of work together in your brain. But, for the most part, I was like, yeah, they're fine. Now, if it wouldn't have been outside of the character of the Minnesota Vikings to have given up an onside kick, right? Like, it would have been totally spiritually in line with who the Vikings are to allow an onside kick. But I wouldn't let myself think like that. And so
the onside kick karma, though, was so in our favor after the Gophers fiasco.
Yeah. So I was like pretty confident. Plus, like, the thing is, things were just kind of rolling in the Vikings' favor, especially through the first half. But like a lot of stuff is working. Like the refs got the calls correctly on these replay challenges. I mean, Kevin O'Connell won all 3 of them. First of all, when does that happen?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. The Vikings were kind of fated to win this one. I don't know how else to put it. So I was never really in a spot where I was like, this is all going to go away. But when the win probability dipped down to like 75%, bye Luke. 75%. I was like, I'm going to think about this for a second. This isn't wonderful. Then they kicked a field goal and it shot up to 90. It's great.
The 28-0 lead that was built, as we circle back to how it got to be that lopsided, there was a ton of stuff going well that does not always go well for the Vikings. For instance, all the reviews kind of fell right into their hands. All I think called correctly, but went in their favor.
Had to challenge 3 different
kicks were being missed. Yes, they did. And to the refs' defense, tough calls in real time.
Refs,
pretty tough. But the ball was bouncing their way, tipped right into the hands of Shaq Griffin, for instance.
Yeah,
the kicks were missing narrowly for Green Bay. I think flags were in the Vikings' favor. Luke, everything was going their way to get up 28-0. What stood out to you about the way the lead was built?
I'll get ahead of my of a nerdy stat of the day. There are a few to choose from, but the entire game, Sam Darnold was under pressure 6 times. Jordan Love was under pressure 20 times.
Ooh, 6 times. That's
the pass blocking is what I want to point out.
Spicy meatball.
There were a lot of very long pockets. Darnold could really sit back and wait for things to get open. And that meant that they could just move the ball with ease and score on 4 of their first 5 drives. They scored a touchdown.
I'm hearing Kenny Clark is washed. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that
maybe? He was also not on the field a lot. Like they're clearly giving him like rotational treatment. And I maybe heard too much about Carl Brooks this offseason.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Rashawn Gary, not all he's cracked up to be. Merely a top 20
and apparently got
pass rusher.
stonewalled by like Oliver and Munt sometimes. So we got to concern. Like if I'm a Packers fan, and Packers fans, if you're listening to this, I've been where you are. I've stood where you stood a lot of times where the Vikings really got the crap kicked out of them, but they like made it kind of close. And you will not hear a single Minnesotan be like, ooh, but but they made it a little close. Oh, good job, boys. No, we're all going to be super mad that they got the crap kicked out of them for 2.5 quarters and then maybe arguably 3 quarters.
28-7 after 3 quarters, and the 7 was like a free touchdown.
Then it was a flattening for that long. And you would never hear a Vikings fan like go try to moral victory this thing. And so to hear a lot of Vikings fans try to moral defeat it is annoying to me. It's just very clear that some of y'all want to just be negative. It's like, finally, something wasn't perfect. Oh my God, I can go back to my comfort zone of being the first person in September to say it's going to snow soon.
The Vikings are just clinical on third downs. I mean, and I think this was true in the Texans game early, built a huge lead. True in this Packers game when they built a huge lead. Like 3rd and 14 on the first drive, 31 yards to Naylor, his only catch. But those situations have come to fruition so frequently. I think the Vikings are 9th in third down percentage, which is obviously pretty good. But in the key moments of the game, they are so good on third down. Whether it's Jefferson, it's Naylor, everybody was getting involved in the passing game yesterday. But Darnold's poise in those situations, I think there was a third down too where he scrambled really neatly to pick up a first down with his legs. Like that's the offensive stuff that is really cool to see. I'm not freaking out too much about the second half offense. I think KOC got a little bit, maybe didn't quite know which direction the compass needed to be pointing there. It was kind of like, I'm staying on 16 in blackjack. I'm going to hit. I'm going to stay. I'm going to hit. And I'm not sure what his direction was at all times, but I love the offense in the first half. And that to me is just as valuable as the second half defense. You might say, oh, well, there's some concerning stuff. Hey, the offense was legit in the first half. I'm not going to take that away at all.
I'll say this about so 2 thoughts on the offense. One, it is so cool to have a full core of receivers that can produce, right? And it's not like, oh, you need a third down, you've got, your KJ Osborne. Oh, you need to kind of get a quick hitter in there, you've got your Brandon Powell. No, all 3 of these receivers can just make plays, right? And that's awesome, right? And so, the Packers, without Jair Alexander, had to put a little bit of additional focus on Justin Jefferson, and in doing so, they got burned. They got burned by Jordan Addison, they got burned by Jalen Naylor. And it's great to be able to truly punish teams as opposed to take advantage of the misses, right? There's a difference, right? The difference between punishing a team for paying attention to Jefferson and taking advantage of maybe some open zones. And the fact that Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison have the ability to create these 20-plus yard plays when you don't pay attention to them, when you remove the safety from up top, or rather, when a safety is so focused on Jefferson running a dig route that, the cornerback who thinks that a double move is fine because he thinks there's a safety up top is wrong. Free touchdown for Jordan Addison, right? Like, that's awesome, right? And so that's what I like about the offense. It's going to get better once we get TJ Hawkinson back, which Adam Schefter reports is either going to be the 29th or the game after that, at least on the current schedule that we're on. Great, fantastic. Obviously, these 3 guys will have to stay healthy for us to be able to say that the offense is only going to get better, but it is really nice to have, all of these options available and all of these options be deadly when they're available, as opposed to you can get a first down. The second thought I have is, hey, man, you've got a pretty good offense. Probably go for it on 4th down, man, especially 4th and 1. There's a second quarter 4th and 1 and a third quarter 4th and 1. They were both essentially pretty close to, that kind of gray zone. Yeah. Where punting just isn't that useful. In fact, one of those was a touchback. Yeah. That's like the risk of punting there. And actually, Ryan Wright was fine. It's just you're not always going to get your special teams unit to grab that punt before it gets into the end zone. Go for it on 4th and 1. your run game is killer, dude. Like the Vikings were running the ball pretty well. Like I know they finished with like 4.2 yards a carry. Their success rate was really high. It was over 40%, which is in running back terms excellent. Yeah, they were doing really well in medium and short range running. Dude, just run, man. Just 4th and 1. Just run up the middle. Kenny Clark doesn't matter anymore, man. We've slayed that dragon, dude. So take a couple more chances. Possession is just as important as field position, and you could really close out this victory before we can get to a 1-score game. So that's my thoughts. Your offense is really good. Now act like it.
Yeah, I don't think Kevin O'Connell quite reached the Campbell meter of going for it on 4th down. And when you're up 28-0, I don't care if what the lead is. 4th and 1 around midfield, especially that early in the game, go up 35-0. There's no reason why. And in fact, because the fact that they didn't make that decision, they ended up stopping Green Bay too fast, and then Green Bay was forced to punt, and then the Vikings muffed the punt.
Don't make them punt. Lesson learned.
Don't make a punt, dude.
Yeah.
Just let them go down the field.
That punt secured them more points than anything else that they did. If up until that point, that was their best offense, man.
Yeah,
there's something else. There's something else that we need to talk about in terms of how they built that lead, and that's that Jordan Love was ass. Jordan Love was really bad and threw two bad throws that got picked. The one to Kamu Grugier-Hill, he should have never thrown. That Tampa pole runner was opened up toward that. You should have seen that linebacker. That absolutely is a never throw. And then the one that ended up in Shaq Griffin's hands tipped up a little bit, but it was a pretty high pass with a guy in his face. The back foot thing that Jordan Love always does has nothing to do with his knee, by the way. Trent Green thought it did. He always does that. That's how he throws. And that is part of the reason you might want to do that is there's a guy in your face. You can throw it. The problem is you are just winging it with all arm when you do that. It's hard to be consistent, and sometimes it's going to sail on you. That one sailed on him, picked, deserved.
He threw high, he threw low. So
a lot of them were low.
Yeah, a lot of them were low. So the high throws were picks, and the low throws were, upon review, incompletions.
The only one they got wrong, for Packers fans that want to complain about the refs, the only one that was wrong upon review was the interception in the second half. That shouldn't have been.
And that seemed
all the rest of them were very clearly bobbling around on the ground.
Yeah, the review for the pick was odd because it was kind of obvious to the point where the booth was like, "Hey, wait a second," even the officiating expert that they bring on, who's always a former official, who generally is predisposed to side with officials, or at least the call in the field, was like, I think they got this one wrong, guys. He's like, Trent, I think you're right. The only time he secures the ball is when his elbow's on the ground, and his elbow, unfortunately, is on the ground in the sideline, so it's out.
Somebody tweeted during the commercial break while we were all waiting, someone tweeted, Vikings offense coming back onto the field, as if they were that confident in the overturn.
Well, yeah, someone else had tweeted that both the offense and the defense were on the field, and I was like, oh, okay, well, great.
So they just don't know, okay.
Yeah.
The Pete Show is also bringing up, but their QB only had one leg, and I do think that his knee affected him all game. I think that is something of an excuse, but it doesn't make the decision better. It doesn't make the decision in the fourth quarter to just heave one up that Byron Murphy can catch over his shoulder like he was the wide receiver. That doesn't make that a better decision, but I think it does excuse some of the inaccuracy.
The 389 just comes with a major asterisk because if you are willing,
90 of the 389 came on the final meaningless drive, so there's that.
Correct. But still 300 yards asterisk when you're willing to throw the ball that recklessly and throw 3 picks. Yes, you're gonna get a lot of yards. They're not all going to be
the Nick
picked.
Mullins around here.
It was very Mullinsy, and he was clearly.
They had a Nick Mullins game.
It was absolutely a Nick Mullins game.
Congrats, Nick Mullins still hasn't won a game.
In fact,
Okay. Also, when you focus on like total volume of passing yards, like it seems pretty impressive that you got quote 389 passing yards against the number 1 DVOA defense or whatever. You had 55 attempts, my guy. That's crazy. like you had to throw the ball a lot to get there. Yeah. It was like 52 dropbacks to get to 300 yards, and then obviously you had like the 3 more dropbacks to get to 90 when the Vikings were like, we're playing clock, we're not playing yards. But like 300 yards on 52 dropbacks, that's not good, actually. That's like well below average. And so, you got a lot of throws because there were a lot of possessions because the Vikings scored quickly. So there was a lot of possessions. That's not good for you, right? Like that's not a sign that the offense is doing well.
Average game has about 12 possessions. This one had 14 apiece.
Yeah. Let's pause. I do want to raise some possible alarm bells. You can tell me to settle down. You can tell me, no, Sam, you're a genius. You're right. See what the comments think. They're probably going to disagree with me. But that's coming up next.
Let's go.
On the Minnesota Football Party. We're brought to you today by Gametime. This is the best way to get tickets. Gametime Picks curates the best possible tickets for your favorite live events. They filter out the fluff and show you incredible deals on incredible seats. That's for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. Toggle on the all-in pricing, get a view from your seat, and take advantage of this easy-to-use app and get some money off as well, $20 off your first purchase at the Gametime app. Just create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. You can get into the WNBA semifinals, game 2 coming up, Lynx and Sun. You've got, I think there's still soccer happening, Allianz Field. Target Field, that's shop closed up for the winter. That's very sad. But you can get to US Bank Stadium after the bye when the Vikings and Lions play. That's going to be a hot ticket. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
Gametime.
Hey, Macho Meech, I said dropbacks, not attempts. Just letting you know.
56 dropbacks per PFF, by the way, for Love. Only 3 turnover-worthy plays. Seems maybe a little low, but have to look back at all the throws. All right.
I don't think they judged the Grugier Hill interception as a turnover-worthy play.
That's a choice.
Crazy. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it certainly the badness of the play caused the turnover, but it did initially hit an offensive player's hands, and then also the second player's hands was an offensive player. So he's at
you're
fault.
talking about the Shaq Griffin one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Shaq Griffin.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Shaq Griffin.
Okay. Yeah, that's also crazy cope, but okay.
That was actually was that a double doink?
I wouldn't call it
Packers,
hope, right? Like I think
I mean,
you wouldn't grade it as
high
a turnover-worthy
high balls
play,
sail, man.
But you would give him a bad grade for it. You just wouldn't give him the stat of a turnover-worthy play. Is what happens there.
I should have bet that Flacco would be better than Darnold. Says Kale Chips. All right,
that would have been a better bet. That's true.
I'm just gonna lay this all out, and I should play the graphic here too because this kind of leaks into my nerdy stats. So let's get this out of the way.
Analytics fans rejoice. It's time to get educated.
Whoa, you're blowing my mind right now.
With the nerdy stat of the day.
I just cut that off. So the word is sustainability, right? Like that was the word all of 2022, and I don't think this is 2022 at all. Like the eye test tells me that there's something a lot more real and authentic about this. But through 4 games, just a couple wonky numbers I want to point out. Vikings have given up the 23rd most yards, and they are the worst pass defense in yards in the NFL. Now, I will confess that if you look at yards per attempt, it's actually like 11th best. So that one I'm not freaking out about at all. They're 5th in points allowed. Okay, so pretty big discrepancy between the yardage they're surrendering and the points they're surrendering. So what's the cause of that? They might be a sneaky bit unsustainably good at preventing teams from scoring when they are in Vikings territory. And I can back that up. Vikings, number 1 in the NFL in opponent drives that end in Vikings territory and do not result in points. And you think about some of the circumstances. Oh, Spinman's back. What up, Spinman? We're doing nerdy stats.
You made it.
Stats, nerdy stats. Let me just jump in here. Yeah, nerdy stats. What do you got? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm rattling it off. Think back to the first handful of games, too. Like 49ers getting stopped at the 2. The Texans backing themselves out of field goal range twice with penalties or sacks. The Packers missing 2 field goals, both very makeable. Just some things that I don't think you can count on a regular basis occurring, which would tell me that there might be just a little bit of fraudulence to that number 5 defense ranking. But again, the eye test tells me that there's something real about it. I don't love those discrepancies, though. All right, tell me if I'm freaking out.
Crowd noise is real.
My
Home field advantage, baby. Fans are sustainable.
Fans are sustainable.
And I think to some extent Zimmer showed us that like red zone defense can be sustainable. Like if you're really good.
It's you can be good at it, but it's really hard. It's one of those things that like is skillful. Unlike, fumble luck, that's not all that. I mean, you can drill it, but it's a lot to do with the bounce. But like red zone defense is skillful, but it's just hard to remain good at it for a long time because you get a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there's a couple of things here. So third down defense historically has been relatively unsustainable. Zimmer has demonstrated to us that no, never mind. You can actually be pretty good at that so long as you have some level of continuity in coaching and personnel. Red zone, even for Zimmer, was a little bit unsustainable. And so I understand that being kind of a concern. But if you take a look at kind of these broader metrics, like success rate, just generally success rate, the Vikings are 5th in defensive success rate. That's great. In EPA per play, they're 2nd in success rate. Now, EPA per play will be impacted by the red zone a little bit. But I just think for the most part, you take a look at their play-by-play statistics, their yards per play allowed, their success rate, whatever advanced stat you want to use, the Vikings are still up there. They're still up there in a top 5 capacity in almost any one of these advanced statistics. Plus, I mean, like, I think that a turnover-driven defense is going to create some problems for you if you're not also preventing things like conversions on third down, if you're not also preventing, plays on a consistent basis that are like passing plays and stuff like that. So that's like part of it. I do think the penalty stuff, that's not sustainable. So the Vikings defense might look, I think, better than it is when we're watching games and seeing kind of the outcomes. But I think also the way that they operate kind of under the cover, right? Like under the engine, right, is still extremely good. It's still extremely sustainable in ways that don't materialize, in ways that we like. They shouldn't get to the red zone as often as they do, according to some of these statistics, and I think we'll see some of that bounce back in the Vikings' favor. So I think in some of the ways that you're concerned, like the number of red zone trips they're making, that makes sense, but they might actually prevent more red zone trips going forward based off of kind of what the numbers are telling us. So yeah, it's certainly a concern, but like not one that makes me kind of raise any red flags.
And there's probably a way to filter this down at like rbsdm.com where you can get neutral situation stats, and that's probabing a little bit more real because a lot of garbage time, a lot of second half, other teams throwing the ball. Yeah, Inman's back. Let's get we're kind of talking about the second half. I turned it into a nerdy stat, but what red flags were raised for you, Inman, if any, in half number 2?
Well, obviously, maybe, okay, first question you ask, is this just a case of them stepping off the gas? Obviously, we saw them play a lot more conservative in that second half. They started rushing 4, if not 3, just way more in general. I think that's fine, of course. It can still work as long as the pass rush and the coverage are still married together, as long as they're still synced in. That's kind of been their bread and butter all year, like the pass rush and the coverage being in sync, both together in unison. That has really excelled, I think, through these first 3 games. You get into the second half yesterday, all of a sudden, okay, I think you got to give a little credit, too, to Green Bay and Matt LaFleur. I thought they came out with a good game plan in the second half. They adjusted. They got those 2 parts of our defense out of sync, the pass rush and the coverage in the back end. Love escaping out of the pocket as much as he did, forcing the secondary to cover for another second or 2. That makes the difference A huge difference sometimes in that back end. And then I thought Love did a great job of just attacking those open pockets in the pass defense when they were there too. So I think you got to give some credit here to Green Bay, making some good adjustments. That's Matt LaFleur. That's Jordan Love. He's got some good weapons. I looked at the second half. I think it's all correctable for the most part. I don't necessarily feel like overly exposed in any way leaving that game. Mm-hmm. I think they just have to start mixing up the rush plan, if that makes sense. Keep offenses, quarterbacks, offensive line, keep them guessing more, keep them on their heels. Again, that's been their bread and butter. That's where they've excelled through those first, 14 quarters of the season. And then part two is just finding a way to at least tighten up some of those loose pockets there in coverage. When quarterbacks escape, they move around with their feet. That's what they're going to do. That leads to too many explosive plays. That's what we saw in that second half that really started to, I think, wear down that defense. Explosive leads to more points. Good news is, though, you look at that defense top to bottom, they got the players to do it. Not only just the talent on all three levels, but more importantly, I look at that secondary, the experience in that secondary in coverage. I think they're going to know how to fix a lot of those things. I think it's adaptable. Harrison Smith, Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, all those guys have been playing a long time. They've seen it all. And again, I think you got to give a little credit here to Green Bay. That's a professional football team too over there with the good quarterback, good coach, good weapons, all that thing. I think they just did a good job of attacking the Vikings defense where they were most vulnerable in that second half. All correctable, though. I'm not too worried, honestly, when you look at that game as a whole, start to finish.
Let's contextualize the 29 points, too. So first 7, muff punt, free touchdown, basically. Yep. Second, I'd say their second touchdown drive, probably the most real. 11 plays, 89 yards to make it 28-14.
It was the tempo drive, right?
It was that. Yep, tempo,
yeah,
the early fourth
speaking
quarter.
Speaking of sustainability, can't live like that, but good drive.
Right, and when you were talking about marrying the rush plan and the coverage, the tempo drive, the rush actually was comically bad. How the pass rush operated,
it was terrible. It was
and a lot of tempo counters Flores pretty well. And if there were a college style tempo offense in the NFL, the Vikings probably should be scared of it, but there isn't because you can't get enough complexity in tempo. It's just hard to run things with the level of complexity that really attacks a defense. It's hard to run those fast.
Yeah.
And teams don't really try to. They'll put together a package of tempo plays. They'll have, 15-ish plays that here are our tempo plays. This is called red. This is called black. This is called green. And
they can't make the whole plane out of it.
Yeah, they'll streamline a little bit, but they can't make the whole plane out of it. So you can get a drive or two that they're ready to use in 2-minute situations, or if you're trying to spark a comeback. They can't live like that only. So good tempo drive, and if you want a long-term concern, everybody probably gets their tempo drive. That's actually a pretty good way to sort of fluster the Vikings defense and all the disguising and pre-snap communication that goes with that. Good way to fluster that and sort of force them to play it straight up is to come to the line quickly. But you get one drive a game. Congratulations. That's still not going to be enough.
It reminds me of, you guys watch Falcons Eagles 2 weeks ago, Monday night. Kirk Cousins looked like garbage for 58 minutes. Then the 2-minute drill. Okay, it's the 12-15 bread and butter plays. I know like the back of my hand. Marched up and down the field. Like you said, though, you can only do that once or twice a game. I think this was just in general a good learning experience. Being able to learn and adapt after a win, no less, that makes taking your medicine go down a lot smoother. That's for sure.
Yeah, the 96-yard drive at the end, again, the Vikings knew that they literally just had to recover an onside kick at that point to win the game.
And chew up time. Time was their enemy.
All those, dink and dunk. I think aside from one reception, all of those dudes were tackled inbounds. So, great.
And then the fourth touchdown was a 20-yard field after the fumble. So, if you say, the Packers, made the adjustments at halftime and figured it out, well, let's look at how the second half started. 3-and-out punt, turnover on downs for the Packers. So it's not as if they exposed something out of halftime. More so, fourth quarter started. Vikings got a little lax, up by 3 scores, and then Darnold got strip sacked. Now, let me raise this concern too, because I have to, because it's for the brand. Sam Darnold has turned the ball over.
Yeah, Russell Wilson wouldn't have fumbled that, right, Sam?
Russell Wilson would never have been caught.
This has been a thing. He's good for like 2 or 3 of these every game. This is the Vikings have just been absolutely blasting everybody, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, if we end up in a close one, like those are going to loom large. It's just a thing. Welcome to the 2024 season.
On the postcast, I brought up. Remember the opening drive for both teams? Okay, Darnold gets lucky, dropped interception, and then the Packers dropped that wide open 3rd and long. Maybe he beats Harry. I don't know if it was Jaden Reed or Wicks or not, but wide open, dropped it. It was Wicks. Could have had a first down for sure. If
I think so. Packers fans are very mad at Wicks, despite having a career best day, I think.
Yeah, a lot of what they have 5 dropped big passes too. Like
Wicks had a couple potential TDs dropped by Wicks.
Dude,
sounds like a bad team that didn't deserve to win.
Yeah, 2 missed field goals. I mean, yeah, they didn't.
Sounds like a team that didn't play as well as the other team.
You gotta want it. It's the NFL.
You gotta want it. Wicks just didn't want to win.
Didn't want it bad enough. Yeah.
Let's keep the nerdy stats rolling. Inman, what else? What do you got, nerdy?
The defense, man. Let's see what they lead the NFL in: sacks, quarterback hits, tackles for loss, pass deflections, pressures. I think they're doing okay, Sam. I'm not too. I don't think they got exposed that much. I think there's a lot of sustainability in there. Here's a great one. Through 4 games, their point differential is plus 57, 4-0 record. Their opponents, 12 games played, 54 points differential in the positive. So everybody talks about, okay, still don't know whether to believe in this Vikings team yet. That was at least going into this week. The litmus test is
they're
not
boat
sure.
racing genuinely good teams.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude.
Purdy, come off that
Purdy
game and the San Francisco 49ers killed someone, like the Texans had a bit of a bounce back. These teams are not breaking down and we're just catching. No, they have a bad day against the Vikings and then go continue to be good.
Yeah, Purdy's 4th in EPA or something like that.
He's a machine. Purdy's a machine. 8-4 record combined for their 4 opponents. 8-4, dude. That's what, 666 winning percentage? It's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty good.
667, I would say.
667, sure. Yeah, I guess you can round up. Sure.
Repeating, of course.
Hey,
right.
One more too. Turnovers, man. I don't need to, go back to last year and regress and bring up that. But okay, they started 1-3, right? I think it was 1-3. Yep. Dead last in turnovers. Remember that? -8.
Mm-hmm.
This year they're 4-0, +3. 10 takeaways already. The turnovers alone have made such a huge difference. And, so much talk about 2022, not sustainable. 2023, these turnovers, that's not really sustainable either. You're just hoping for it to come back somewhere in this happy medium. KOC still got that unreal, unbelievable, crazy stat. Hasn't lost. I forget what it's up to now. 20-0, 21-0.
Yeah.
When he just doesn't lose the turnover battle. Obviously, I mean, that's got to come to an end at some point. But so far, man, the turnovers alone have made such a huge difference for this.
It'll be the playoffs, dude. Don't worry about it.
Oh, no. Why does it feel so right?
My nerdy stat of the day. I definitely didn't research it during the show when Sam mentioned removing garbage time or when Nubalax also mentioned removing garbage time. I definitely did it well before the show while I was on a cliff. No, I looked up the Vikings EPA per play when removing garbage time and their success rate. Well, yeah, good time to do Vikings research is next to a cliff.
Hey, dude, you okay over there?
Morbid.
I'm just looking at EPA and sustainability.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Vikings. Whoa, dude, step back. No.
Well, he went out happy. This is what he loved.
It's only downhill from here, so.
So in games that are in between the 10 to 90% bandwidth for win probability for either team, the Vikings are second in defensive success rate allowed and first with a bullet in EPA per play allowed. Now, mind you, the Packers, 80% of the plays that they took were outside of this band. So most of these Packers plays just don't count when you get rid of garbage time, which tells me that Jordan Love is a garbage time stat accumulator. Welcome to having Kirk Cousins.
Oh.
Sorry,
Nick
quarterback
Mullins
on one
for
leg,
sure.
got 450 yards.
On one leg.
On one leg?
On one leg.
Kirk Cousins, again, bad yesterday, by the way, despite the win.
Yeah,
he's not had a good year.
Over
one
under
good game.
What week until we see Michael Penix? Or did they just have to roll with it? They paid him all that.
You got to lose a couple of these, I think.
They got to lose.
I don't think
Here's one more. Here's one more fun one from Sando NFL. Fun fact: 98 Vikings team started 4-0. Point differential for that 98 Vikings team plus 57. Exact same point differential through 4 games. as 2024. So,
insane.
Arif, you were joking. The turnover regression is going to happen in the playoffs. That 98 season, that ended fine.
Okay, all right.
Fine.
Little
That'd be
memory.
fun.
Little memory test.
Sam's like,
In
I
there.
gotta put this shit back on.
No. I want to indulge this. Bring up the
Oh, okay.
98 schedule. I want to see if I can go through the first 4 weeks.
Okay, give me 6
Ooh.
seconds.
All right.
Oh, you mean like the
Like,
score
just
breakdown?
remember the games.
All right,
So
you ready?
Game 1, Bucks.
Yep.
I'm
Randy
gonna
Moss coming
go-
out party, 2 touchdowns. Yep.
I'm gonna go either 27 or 27, 13.
Oh, you're going score? You're going score?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's going to score. Yeah.
Wow.
So
How-
did he
how
get
close?
it? Luke?
31-7. 31-7.
Not close at all.
Oh, I would have been wrong. I got to mix up the 2000.
Honestly, I didn't even remember. I don't even remember this second game.
Second
On the
game,
road.
Rams got stopped at the 1.
Wow.
It was the Super Bowl. It was the Rams Titans Super Bowl.
Right.
Rams got stopped at the 1.
Wow.
It was super high scoring. I'm gonna go 38-31.
Wow.
Wow.
To a T. Who are you? Turn
Uh,
the fireplace on. This guy
good.
is steaming.
week
Wow.
3, Detroit.
Yes. Who are you? Yes. Yeah.
26-16.
29-6. Big blow.
Okay, had some 6s in there. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, you got some of the
Stop
digits
Barry
correct.
Sanders,
Yeah.
and you're fine.
Week
You would
4,
have gotten a yellow
Bears.
score on Wordle, that's for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Week 4, Bears
Yep.
at Soldier.
At Soldier.
31-24.
31-28. Really close.
Ooh,
Wow.
look at that. I like
Really
that.
close. Okay, one more before the bye.
Packers.
Hey, yeah, what's next, Sam?
Packers.
Wow. In Lambeau.
Monday night.
Monday night.
36-26.
37-24. Pretty close, man.
pretty close.
545 yards of offense.
Is Sam the real
545
Vikings
yards of
historian?
offense. Wow.
So I'm hearing
All
that the
right.
Vikings are destined to win by 13 in London, if we're going to keep this pace.
Oh.
Right.
Ooh.
Well, I mean,
It's the same bye week, by the way.
Same bye
the Jets
week,
look
by the
great.
way.
I don't know
That
what you're
is
talking about, Luke.
Wild, dude. That is wild. And by the way,
So did the Packers.
by the way,
The
like
joke
the-
is that the Jets don't look great, and they just lost to the Bo Nix Broncos. So
Oh,
what the bye week was in
can't bring myself to watch a
2016?
Jets game.
2016 also. Not take 3 guesses.
sorry, what about 2016?
Well, what the bye week was in 2016.
when we
Oh, yeah, it was
started
week
hot,
6,
you're
huh?
saying?
Yeah,
Week
because
six,
we
yeah.
went into that bye 5-0 and then came out of it. Fat cats get slaughtered and fell apart.
Andrew Sandejo intercepts Carson Wentz. He should have cut back, should have scored, pick 6. Instead, he didn't. And the season went downhill from there.
Was
Do
that
you
the
think
week
if they
Jake
had
Long
more
went
stuffed
out?
animals, they would have
Was
been
that
able
Jake
to?
Long? Did he go out?
Fat
that
cats get slaughtered.
Yeah, if they had more stuffed animals, I think
Yeah.
they could have. It was just it
Maybe
was
one of them
probably
could have
not
played
enough.
tackle.
Well, honestly,
I have 2 nerdy stats.
Go for it.
I have one that maybe doesn't count, so I have a backup one. But the one that maybe doesn't count is more of a fun fact. In this game, the Packers, after the opening drive, never had the ball with a chance to take the lead. Not once.
Yes.
I feel
And
like
that
that
would've-
kind of...
Yeah.
It can't be a close game if you never had the ball with a chance to take the lead. I'm sorry. If you were down 2 scores with 2 minutes to go and no timeouts and you needed an onside kick, you're backdooring at this point. You're backdoor covering
Yeah,
everybody's live
the-
bets.
That's such
you're
a
not,
huge point, though.
You're not making a
because-
game of this.
Because that's such a huge point because
no
Darnold gets
timeouts
that
was
ball and hits Justin Jefferson on that wide open crosser.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like,
That was a
okay,
dagger.
You just can't go 3 and out here. Please, we've seen enough 3 and out. You can't go 3 and out. Hit Justin Jefferson on that long
Yeah.
22-yard crosser, and it was like, okay,
also,
let's go.
Critically,
okay, I think we'll be okay.
that also allowed me to hit my Justin Jefferson yards over. So, excellent
That's
move in the
right.
clutch.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Braun,
Well
I
said.
think that your nerdy stat applies to the second half of every game. I don't think a team in the second half
No.
has had the ball with a chance to take the lead.
Well, yeah, because the 49ers did the same thing
Yeah, they
where
backdoored
it
the
came
one
down to an
score.
onside kick, and then the
Yeah.
other 2 were just slaughterings.
Yep.
But if you
Demolitions.
don't count that as a stat, you don't like that. So there was a lot of chest thumping this week from Packers fans and some Packers media about the Packers cornerbacks. Now Jair didn't end up playing, dodging Justin Jefferson and Addison. I
Coward.
get it. But also, like, I had people posting graphics of Justin Jefferson on Monday Night Football saying Corey Ballantyne put him in the chamber. Go back up.
That's good.
Saying Corey Ballantyne put him in the chamber. Like, we had some ridiculous stuff. The Packers don't seem to agree with you. They played man coverage on 7 reps all game. 7 passing reps at least. And on those, 6 of 7 completed for 107 yards and a touchdown. That's a perfect passer rating. So pound sand, Packers cornerbacks. You think the Vikings have coverage issues? That was a shellacking on the back end.
And they were missing 2 corner, but yes, yeah. Wow, that is brutal.
Well, that didn't stop them from talking a whole bunch of trash leading up to the week. So you all have some tweets to delete.
Salty Braun is absolute best. Did you guys, just as a footnote, did you see Byron Murphy's targets yesterday? 15 targets.
Yeah, for like 130 some odd yards or something like that.
Dude, there
and
was...
it's like, that's fine. Keep it up.
Yep. Hey,
Go Byron Murphy.
What a weird day for him, man.
Yeah.
Like, after giving all that up, pick, and like, this is really,
that
like, the
Peanut
Packers...
Tillman. Come on.
The Packers had enough time for the 2 scores they needed when they had the ball, 31-22, 2 different possessions, 2 plays, turnover. That's a Kirk Cousins meltdown, if I've ever seen it. I mean, my God, what a Nick Mullins game. I love this. I can't believe I didn't think of it.
I can't believe, it is a Nick Mullins game. It is unfortunate that Jordan Love threw the ball to Tucker Kraft and made him fumble. That is just poor leadership, I think, on his part, that he made Tucker Kraft fumble. But it is what it is. Kraft cheese crumbles.
I'm trying to connect some more dots to 98, and I'm like, oh, we play the Titans and we play the Colts and Jaguars the same way as 98. And then I had to remember there was only 3 divisions back then in 98. It's tripping me out. Jags, Titans, Steelers, Ravens, Bengals in the AFC Central. It's just weirding me out right now.
Central, Jesus, man.
Luke's down that rabbit hole. Quick pause, and then we update
still lost in the
week 4 bets. We have some wins, some losses, some bad beats, all of that next on the Minnesota Football Party. And of course, we made those baby at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Great deal right now. All new customers can bet 5 with their first bet, get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And then you've got some big hunches. You got $200 to spend. That's where the winnings can roll in, whether it's the spreads, the over-unders, the future bets. You've got WNBA playoffs. You've got MLB playoffs starting up. College football has been unbelievable on Saturdays. And, of course, every NFL Sunday at America's #1 sportsbook. Early look at the Week 5 line in London. Vikings by 2.5 against A-Raj and the Jets. Going to tell you about our Week 4 bet results next on the Minnesota Football Party. Thanks to FanDuel. Make every moment more. All right, we began the season with 1,000 mythical dollars. We have increasing minimums and maximums. And this past week, I have the results. In the lead, yours truly, Sam Ekstrom, with 1 game still to go. I've got Lions minus 3.5 tonight, but I hit the under on Sam Darnold pass attempts 30.5.
You did. Wow. It felt like I was like sitting there watching Kevin O'Connell refuse to run. And I'm like, does he know?
Yeah.
Is he just trying to sabotage Sam?
You know?
Which is a cause I can get behind, of course.
Yeah, no, if that's what he went up and he was like, yeah, but there's this podcaster I needed to stick it to.
Got a little nervous there. Some nervous time. It
was like 29, right?
28 or 29. I think it was 28.
Yeah.
It is very rare for most of these prop bets to like actually cash in the second or third quarter. So much of this stuff comes down to those final 4 or 5 minutes, garbage time, all that stuff.
Yep.
Well, especially if it's a pass attempt.
Especially a
over-under.
pass
Yeah,
attempt.
that's
yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
Inman had 2 Vikings bets. He had Vikings spread hits. Aaron Jones anytime TD did not hit, so Inman loses $6 and change.
They were trying.
They tried.
Man.
Yeah, man.
They tried.
Instead, they were like, "No, Inman's got that prop. Inman's got that prop on that one."
Yeah,
prop
that's why they wanted to give Aaron Jones a touchdown in Lambos because of your prop.
Oh no, Inman, dude, you gotta listen to this podcast.
Net loss of $652 for Inman, so he's at 1,149 in second place. Arif goes 1-1. Over on Jefferson yards, thanks to the toe tap catch.
Oh.
Thanks to the challenge flag by KOC. Arif gets
Thank you, KOC.
Arif, remember when I talked you into betting $1 additional on the Rams than you wanted to? You lost.
Yeah.
That looked good for a while, though.
Yeah, for a hot second, I was like, yeah, let's go. $41, Rams plus 3. Ah.
No. Arif loses $591. He's down to $1,039 in third place. So 3 of us in profit. And then there's Luke Braun, who's showing some signs of life. He hit the Aaron Jones over fairly easily and then lost on the Texans. And he loses a net of $4.91 at $8.81 and change. His total. So
Treading
he's about
water, baby.
About $350 off the lead. That gap is widening. $150 off of third place, which is really what matters.
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I love how
We're treading
Sam
water.
sets all that up and then stops talking, and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to explain why I'm bad at this, why I'm bad at sports handicapping. Let's talk about it.
I mean, 3 of us are doing pretty well, so there's one outlier.
Honestly, though, I say this every time: 1 or 2 good weeks, and he's in first place. I mean, he can
It's a long season.
Go big.
Yeah, I hit 1-2-0, and I'm doing good. But also, it's a long season, and also, when it's non-mythical dollars, I'm doing fantastic this season, so I'm fine.
Luke's seen my spreadsheet. I'm doing bonkers numbers this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arif and I are employing some of the same non-gambling methods.
Let's also remind folks that thanks to our preseason fantasy teams, Luke Inman still with an advantage in his pocket, and Luke Braun with a disadvantage that Luke Inman can trigger at any time. So it could get worse for you, Luke. It could get a lot worse.
Man. And Sam, you had that advantage
week
last
9
year.
Disadvantage? That sounds great.
Yeah, Sam, you had that advantage last year, right? And you nailed it. Like, it's an advantage, but you still
you have to call it before the bet, right?
Yeah.
You can't wait until he wins and then until I win.
Okay, well, let's
You
talk about
call
this.
it the week that you make the bet, but not the week
like
after
as
the
the bets
have
are being
cleared.
made, like on Thursday, not
Yeah.
after the bet.
So if Braun does choose to put out a big bet, I think at that point Luke Inman could say, "I'm using my disadvantage for Braun."
Yeah. But if Braun wins those bets, because the disadvantage
just halves.
is cap the wins and magnify the losses, right?
Have the wins and double the losses.
Yeah. So whenever Luke is in such a big hole that he has to bet big, that's when you do
That's
it.
the week.
Although it has
You
to
guys
be
remind
before
me.
the trade deadline, right?
Yes, before trade deadline. So about a month left.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Coming up. We do this every Monday and Thursday. We're live about 11 a.m. Central. We've got the Ron Johnson Show tomorrow. Plenty more Vikes talk. Probably got to do an emergency Karl Anthony Towns basketball show this week. I think we got to probably have to do that.
Man, I don't really care that much about basketball, and that hurt my heart so much.
I'm sorry for you all. I feel terrible.
God damn it, man. I didn't swear.
No, you
That's some
didn't. No.
foul
Who is the
language
football
today.
equivalent of Julius
No.
Randle?
Okay, earlier.
Help me understand.
Earlier, when Macho Meech accused me of swearing, I said ship, as in right the ship, but I confused my idioms and meant to say get the ship on track, which is not an idiom, and so I stopped myself partway through, which then made it seem like. So I actually only swore once in this podcast, and it was about Karl Anthony Towns, which is warranted.
And it came with
Luke asked a great question. Who is Julius Randle's equivalent?
Like,
in the
help me
NFL?
understand this
I went
trade
to,
in
like,
football
Mike
terms.
Evans, but I think Mike Evans is too good. I was thinking like older, slower, but still good.
Is he old?
He's same age as like 29, 30, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
He's getting
Yeah, but Mike Evans seems to be
29.
aging faster than some of the guys. So
Mike Evans, still good.
he's good though.
Yeah.
Plays old
Antoine
man.
Randall.
Dad
L.
joke says Antoine Randall L.
Okay.
Huh, I don't know. I don't know enough about basketball to tell you if
It's
it's
kinda
a good
tough.
move or not. I just love.
Yeah, this is a
cat.
question for Luke and Sam.
My draft mind immediately just went to, we got Detroit's draft pick. How protected is that going to be? Because they stink. So is that top
It's
5
super
pick, top
protected.
10 pick?
That-
they usually always are. Which
The Timberwolves are not. The Timberwolves will never make that pick. That will be traded at the deadline, either this year or next year, as part of a package to acquire someone. That's the value of the asset.
yeah, Sam. The vibe is they're not done making a move. Which side of the fence are you on?
So they would trade Randall.
Probably.
I mean, it'd have to be Randall.
It'd have to be Randall. Yeah.
Because, like, I think you can bet. And this is hilarious that we've gotten to this point now. Thank you for watching the football portion of the show. But I feel
Something's
like
happening in Minnesota, okay? Everyone's sad.
This is big.
This is
man.
pressing.
This is big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's leaking. It's fine.
Kirk Cousins and Cat are out of Minnesota sports. Okay, it's the end of an era.
Please don't put them in the same sentence. Man.
Man, some podcasts are going to need to just shut down. don't have anything else to talk about.
We need a swear jar for the podcast.
So Randall's going to get moved, which means we what? Does Nas Reed get more minutes, or
So
whoever
I
he's
think
moved for gets
Nas.
more
I
minutes?
think that Nas can't. So this is Nas's last year probably, and Randall's last year of his contract probably. So
Oh,
you can.
of the
I think you can
contract, okay.
comfortably have Nas be your sixth man for 1 year with sort of the handshake agreement that next year you're our guy. We're extending
Time
you.
to shine, baby.
Randall's out, and then they've got cap flexibility to add bench pieces. That's the future plan to me. But also, if you traded Randall for like a backup power forward and picks, I wouldn't hate that.
Antoine Randall, L.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. Yeah. A lot of flexibility opened
John
up, though,
Randall.
right? I mean, they were in the second
Yeah.
apron.
Don't trade John
But
Randall.
it's like having
no
the
money.
having the Panthers first round pick. It's like, oh, this could be like this is gonna be in the lottery, and we're gonna be probably a good chance
unless
for a
the
high one.
Panthers got to pick in the top 11, in which case you don't get it, and you get it next year. Unless they pick at the top 13, you do it.
Oh, it is
It's a-
protected.
Yeah.
It is protected.
Like
It's
basically it's
crazy
lottery protected.
So annoying.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a meaningless.
Can you
pick.
imagine if the NFL did that?
I'm sure you can engineer. Like, I don't think there's anything. in
You
the
can do
rules
like
that prevent you
conditional.
from-
Yeah, I'm sure you
Conditional
can.
stuff. Yeah.
But no one's done it because it's weird. That's the whole reason you trade for the pick. So
Right.
Minnesota Football Party, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. We're back on Thursday. Check out Luke Inman on the postcast from yesterday's game. A ton of you watching that show. We really appreciate that. Please subscribe. Locked On Sports Minnesota. For Arif, Wide Left, Luke Braun, Locked On Vikings, Luke Inman /Spinman. On the postcast, I'm Sam Ekstrom. See ya.